Well, what's going on, y'all? Thanks for tuning in this week and for being here. Now, before I actually tell you what we're talking about today, or I should say what I'm talking about today, I first want to ask a question. By a show of hands, how many of you actually struggle? Now, everybody's hand should have gone up because we all struggle with something. Whether it's just the blanket of sin and being a human being, a flawed human being that kind of messes up and misses the mark every single day, or if it's something specific, a habit that you're trying to break that you just can't seem to break, you keep wrestling with this, an addiction, whatever it might be, we all wrestle or struggle with something. Now, I'm not going to sit here and try to hash out every single struggle that I think us as human beings wrestle with, because, I mean, I could just really summarize it all and just say we're sinful human beings, and that be the end of it. But what I want to focus on is one specific struggle that I think a vast majority of us actually wrestle with, and that's acceptance. You heard that right, acceptance. Because I think all too often, many of us don't even know that this is a struggle of ours. But I hope throughout this video, when I bring up some stuff and mention some stuff, play a clip here and show a picture there, that you'll realize this might actually be something you actually struggle with. And I'd like to know, so let me know in the comments if this is you, if you wrestle with this. But with all of that said, I hope you're ready to dive into this and have this conversation. So without further ado, cue the intro. Now, after hearing that, I think some of you probably had two different thoughts, depending on who's watching. Some probably are like, I don't struggle with acceptance, but let's see what he actually brings up and talks about. And some, you're like, yeah, I do. If I'm honest, I do struggle with acceptance. So for those of you that say that you don't struggle with acceptance, let me try to just change your mind real quick. Now, I'm no artist or painter of any kind, not by any stretch of the imagination or reality, really. But bear with me as I try to paint you a picture, okay? So imagine with me for a moment that you are a new student at a school because your parents moved to a new area. And so you have no friends at this school. Now, you want to make friends. So naturally, you would try to fit in with the group that you kind of identify with the most, whether that be the jocks, the geeks, or some other clique. And what about if they don't accept you? What about if they just think that you're weird and they're like, we're full on friends, we don't need any more? Now, highly unlikely, but just imagine for a moment that that's the case. Are you just going to be fine to go about school on your own? Or are you going to try to make friends with different people that also feel like outcasts, that have no actual group, and you'll form your own group because you want to be accepted, you want to be included in something, and you want to resonate, right? You want some sort of bonding thing, something that you can kind of share similar interests on. And if your interest is no other group really wants you, so you're a band of misfits, and that's your commonality, there's your acceptance. You're all accepted because you're rejected. So you perhaps struggle with acceptance, being accepted, being wanted, being included. And this spills over into our actual life outside of school. When we go into workplaces, if you're not included in certain conversations, you feel that, things are just happening over here and you're just not included in it, purposefully, like being just left out. That makes you feel some type of way. You feel like there's a whole other side of the workplace that is happening that you're just not involved in. And you feel like an outcast, even at work. Now, there are some people that are truly just loners that really don't care. You don't want to be included in these conversations. You just like to show up, do your job, and go home. In the case of high school or whatever, you just want to go to school, get your work, do your work, and be done with it. Like, you don't need any sort of people to hang out with at school. But we all need friends or people that we can kind of do stuff with, even in our life. But the need to be accepted is what I want to go after. Because the need to be accepted is how I would say we struggle with acceptance. I think to best illustrate this point is a clip from a podcast a while back, the George Janko Show. They were talking to the Christian rapper Lecrae, and Lecrae had a motto that he lives by, and he kind of mentions it right here in the beginning. And I think it's really good. So I want us to listen to this and watch this together and sit with what he says, just right there at the beginning. And then I'm going to come back and kind of touch on and highlight what he said. So check this out.
So where in your career did you realize that it was smoke and mirrors? Because in 2011, you came out with your 4th album, you got to perform for the BET Awards, and that must have been huge for you. So
that was massive.
Where were you at in your journey and your faith?
Yeah, my motto even to this day is if you live for people's acceptance, you'll die from their rejection. And so it's kind of like the idea that if the world defines you, then when they turn their back on you, you'll be crushed, right? And I say that because I know that's what I internally battled with, was this massive insecurity. It's already like you're already insecure in a space like hip hop, representing God. Like, you're an alien. So much so that during the BET Cypher, they do the Cypher at the BET Hip Hop Awards, they didn't know what category to put me in. My publicist was like, we got you in the Cypher. And they were like, what category do we put him in? They put me in the international category because it was like, we don't have a place for you. Like, there's West Coast, East Coast, and then Jesus. I don't put him with the Yugoslavian rapper. That's what they put me. I was
It
like,
wasn't
cool.
the gospel album?
There was no gospel category for the BET Hip Hop Awards.
Oh, okay.
So it was just that. So for me, in that space, my insecurity and knowing I was already like, my back was against the wall, just made me more aggressive. It made me more like
hungry.
Yeah, I was like David when it's time to kill Goliath. Is like, okay, word. I know I'm little.
Yep.
I know I'm the son of Jesse, the most least likely to make it. So I'm about to chop the head off of this thing because only power I have is from God. I don't have anything to stand. I can't stand on my block. I can't stand on. I got the whole West Coast on my back. I don't have any of that.
Now think about what he said. He said, if you live for people's acceptance, you'll die from their rejection. Now, think about that for a moment. Just sit with that. Because that's true. If you live for people's acceptance, you'll die from their rejection. If you get rejected by a group of people, one person, like your best friend, if they turn their back on you for whatever reason, whatever the situation might be, but you're all wrapped up in being accepted. That's where your identity is being accepted in this friend group, by this person, by your fans. If you're a singer, an actor, whatever it might be, if you're wrapped up in being accepted, you see a bad comment, a bad review, you'll die from their rejection. If you get, any sort of any sort of rejection, critique, or whatnot, pushback, that they don't like you for whatever the reason is, you cannot be wrapped up in people's acceptance, because people are flawed. Human beings are flawed. Like I said in the beginning, we're all sinful human beings. We miss the mark. So why try to strive for people's acceptance when they're flawed human beings too? If they don't accept you, hey, that's a mess up on their part. And if you don't accept them for whatever reason, hey, you know what? We are flawed human beings. So we don't always get it right. There's another form of this quote that Lecrae said, but by this other person, which I'm going to put up on the screen here. It says, if you live for the cheers, you'll die from the boos. That's again true. If you live for people clapping and cheering your name, go, yay, yay, woo. If all of a sudden it turns from that to boo, boo, how are you going to recover from it? If your identity is wrapped up in being accepted by other people, other flawed human beings, then when it comes crashing down, when people change their minds about you, when it's no longer constant, what then? What then? It's like your whole world crumbles because you built it on, as the scripture says, right, on sand. The, the foolish person who built their house on the sand. When you build your house on people's acceptance, that's building your house on sand. You have to build your house on the rock, Jesus Christ. That's who you have to look to. That's where you should put your identity in. That's where you should look for the acceptance, because you can go to that. You can take that to the bank, that you are accepted by Jesus Christ. You are saved, you are wanted, you are accepted. That's who you should put your focus and your trust in, and wrap your identity up in who he says you are, not the value that other people will put on you, because other people are flawed human beings as well. So don't get wrapped up in living for people's acceptance, because we are all flawed. So I thank you so much for watching. Please comment below and let me know if this is something that you struggle with. If you struggle with acceptance as well, people's acceptance, society's acceptance of you. If you live for the cheers, or if you live for people's acceptance. Let me know. Let me know where you fall on this. But I thank you so much for tuning in this week, and for being here each and every week, and for supporting the channel. So you all stay safe out there, and until next week, God bless.